Well, ESPN's come out with something called FPI. It's April, so I'm going to talk about this. But none of this makes any sense to me in terms of any sort of metrics or any. I think this is just some computer formula that's been pulled out of no. There's no telling. This is not Bill Conley's whole thing. I don't. I'm gonna talk about this because it's April. It makes the bulk of this makes no sense, and I'll get to the specific reason why it doesn't make sense in a second here. But FPI, which is Football Power Index, again, not a real thing. Um, it is going to say that in 2023, heading into the season, that Ohio State is number one team in the country, Alabama number two, and then Georgia number three. I don't. I mean, I think those are the top three teams in the country. I don't think there's much question about that. I don't know. Well, there is some question about that because Michigan's not in there. So Michigan is placed, it looks like, at number six. But that's not my issue. My issue with this, generally speaking, is not that Georgia's not number one because, I mean, we don't really know what's going to happen there. Um, but that they've got Texas like in the top, not just in the top 10, but they've got Texas at number five. Now, I'll just say that it's kind of challenging to go backwards sometimes and find data on things. But a season ago, this same metric at the end of the season had Texas also as a top 10 team at number seven. Like, no. No, they had Clemson at nine, which is inaccurate. Penn State at six, which I don't really see how. That's okay. Fine. I'm not gonna. I'm just not gonna be like a. I'm not gonna find every single thing here and pick on them. They had Mississippi State at 15th, which is pretty aggressive. Um, it's the Texas thing that just makes no sense. On top of that, they had TCU, a team that played for the national championship, at number 13, behind Clemson, Utah, Texas, a team I believe that they beat pretty solidly, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to go back and look. But I don't really know. I mean, at the conclusion of a season, I do think you have to acknowledge that one team did pretty well. I mean, they beat Texas on the road by a touchdown. It wasn't a great game, but that's what TCU did. Um, I don't know. I don't see how you can really have Texas that high. I got nothing against. I don't care about Texas. I mean, they're an interesting story. They should be winning more than they are, which kind of gets back to the point of, why do you have Texas so high? In 2021, they had 10-3 Clemson at number 8. That doesn't really, they had Cincinnati at number 10. They had Cincinnati at number 10, a team that beat Notre Dame, who they had at 6, on the road. Cincinnati wins that game. But those two are not the strangest of the group, that Cincinnati is that low and Notre Dame that high. These guys have got Iowa State at 7-6 as the number 9 team in the country. That was in 2021. So whatever, like, I think I don't understand what in the world that is supposed to mean, but this is kind of what we do. And the whole point of these documents or these fantasies is to talk. So I'm going to talk. And I think if you come into this season, there's 3 teams to me, 4, excuse me, that are quite clearly positioned to win the national championship. And those 4 teams are Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, and Michigan. And not in order. I mean, I don't know. Georgia right now is the consensus favorite by by double anybody else to win the national championship. And this whack job thing has them at number 3, but that's okay. they've got Texas ranked that high. Texas's ability to win the national championship, according to people who make money on this for a living, is the same as Notre Dame and Tennessee's, which is to say, not super high. I mean, the betting favorites right now are Georgia at 1, Alabama at 2, Ohio State at 3, Michigan at 4. And if you have a problem with that, you can put your money down. You can bet. You can say, I don't think that's right. I'm going to bet this right now. So those are your 4. Now, what will happen when the polling comes out? I don't know, but it's going to be, those guys are going to be near the top. So that Georgia's 3 or something like that, that doesn't necessarily matter. And I don't, they look like the best team in the country to me right now. But like, we've not seen, the only spring games I've been able to see are Florida, Clemson, Georgia, Georgia Tech, and I think we know one of those is, well, 2 of those is not like the other 2. All right. And then you've got, sort of these curious teams, SC, LSU, Florida State. Where are they going to really go? To some degree, for me, Clemson is curious because I don't know if they can score. I mean, that spring game wasn't great in terms of scoring. So that's problematic. But like SC, can they stop anybody? If you could combine SC and Clemson into one team, they would be up there with those other 4 teams. LSU looks really good. But I think for me, more than anything, and I watch ESPN a lot. I watch it for the games. I watch it for the entertainment. I watch Sports Center. I'm sorry if that bothers people. I don't care. I don't care what you watch. It doesn't matter to me. But this is not on this seeps into their, coverage sometimes, not on games, but it's really an important thing that they have on their website. It's not based in reality, though. Bill Conley's metrics, however, I think are based much more in reality than FPI. FPI is the same thing that will say, oh, well, they have, a particular percentage chance to win. No, there's a mathematical way to actually pull that up and do that. I mean, it's based on what is the point spread. What is the point spread? The point spread is like the most go-to line in who will win a game or what percent chance someone has to win a game. Don't forget our friends at DoorDash. We can't do this sort of stuff without them. If you have never ordered on DoorDash before, you can see this sign behind me. If you've never ordered on DoorDash before, you can go right now. The link is right down below and get 50% off a $20 value. You can get, I'm not going to name all the corporations. You can also get very local restaurants through DoorDash. If you do that right now and you enter the code DAWGPOST, 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 like dog post, you will get 50% off of your first order up to $20, no delivery fees. So take advantage of that tonight. You don't have to cook out if you don't want to. You just go do your thing. You don't have to have someone make dinner at home. We appreciate DoorDash being involved with us here at Dog Post. But, I mentioned Show Double Dogs. That's still very available for everybody. The link for that's down below as well. So thanks to everybody for watching. It's very important. We really appreciate y'all supporting us and supporting people who support us. I look at this, the FPI, the thing that bothers me the most is the Texas thing. That just does not make sense to me in any way. I don't mind the projection, the ability, the probability that Georgia would win their division is not quite 90%. Win the league, it's not quite 50%. Get to the playoff. That's all probably predicated on what they call FPI, but the notion that Ohio State at 37 has a 37% chance to win the national championship is not based in numerical reality. And let's look at what the betting odds are currently and what those translate into in terms of probability. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to say it, I spent my time in graduate school dealing with a lot of probability and statistical anomalies and so forth. That's a lot of what I did, among other things. So when you start talking about a program that has odds of plus 700 for something to occur, that gives you the fractional odds of about 7 to 1 or not quite 13%. ESPN FPI has them at the odds of 37%. I mean, that's well past 1 in 3 in the excuse me. Woo. Spring has sprung in Georgia. The likelihood of that being the case is just so low. I mean, no casino right now would offer those odds because it would get beat to shreds. Georgia right now is anywhere from plus 220 to plus 250. So let's just say plus 250. Georgia, the betting favorite, is at 29% probability of winning the national championship. So pretty high, actually, but not that high. Not as high as FPI, so-called FPI, has got Ohio State. Now, here's the flaw in this, too. And again, no hate for Ohio State. Really, no hate. They were a very good team. They pushed Georgia to the limit. They lost, but they pushed them to the limit. CJ Stroud's gone. Now, they got some killer receivers back, no doubt, but one of the best quarterbacks they've had in a while, and they've had some really good ones, Justin Fields, that guy is gone. The guy that made it click for them a season ago is gone. So, in the two biggest games of the three biggest games that they played a season ago, they lost them. They lost two of the three biggest games they played a season ago, and they lost the best player on their team. And their probability is higher. And I'm assuming that's because of Georgia's losses and Alabama's losses. And there is no doubt that Georgia and Alabama both lost their quarterbacks. Bryce Young for Bama and Stetson for Georgia. But if we're being intellectually honest, which we are not often when we're talking about folks who do what I do for a living, and again, it's not media hate. It's just like people just don't know what the hell they're talking about. If we're being intellectually honest, we cannot really say that Georgia losing Stetson is the same as Ohio State and Alabama losing their quarterbacks. Because Ohio State and Alabama losing their quarterbacks, they're both going to be top 5 picks. That's not the same as Georgia losing a 6th-round guy or a 5th-round guy. Okay? It's not the same. And as good as Stetson was in big moments, and he was, I mean, the other two guys were pretty good in big moments too. They were. So I mean, C.J. Stroud, go back and watch that Auburn game. Excuse me, Bryce Young, go back and watch that Auburn game in 2021. That's a pretty big deal. Go back and watch the SEC championship game against Georgia. He was pretty dynamic in that game too. C.J. Stroud, I mean, maybe he was not unbelievable in big moments because they lost those games, but he was pretty good against Georgia in that game. They lost it, but he was pretty good in that game. So to make the argument that Alabama and Ohio State's odds would go higher because they're losing their starting quarterbacks is not as much of a detriment. I can't get on that thinking, and this is why I have the problem with FPI. This is why I believe in Las Vegas. Bill Conley, different discussion, but this is why I watch the numbers from Las Vegas hard. I do not bet on sports. I don't. But those are a leading indicator of things. And, Georgia and Alabama and FPI are basically, you can flip flop them here. I mean, they are within a point of one another. They are within a percentage point, or so they were a point and a half of winning the national championship. That is, but that Texas would have a better percentage chance to win the national championship than LSU. I mean, come on. That Texas would have a better, but the worst argument is that they would have a better chance than Michigan. That's been in the playoff the last 2 years. and returns their starting quarterback. That Texas, if you watched Texas play a season ago, you cannot possibly really believe that they have a better chance to win the national championship than Michigan or SC or I'll put Clemson in there. Like, no, we gotta be realistic with things. And what we're talking about right now, it's just not based in reality.